Now, Chicago's a city of almost 3 million people, yet we saw historically low voter turnout in February. There are over 1.5 million registered voters. Only about 567,000 ballots were cast. That's less than 36%. And 49% of all ballots came from voters who were 55 or older, and 3% of voters who cast a vote were aged 18 to 24. Now, this younger generation has the power to change the city and select its new leader, so let's meet some of them. Joining us are students from Westinghouse College Prep, the Warriors of Westinghouse College Prep. And I got my guy, John Hanson, here as well for this discussion. What's up, y'all? How you doing?
Good.
Great to see you. So you just saw the numbers there. Voter turnout low overall, but especially for your generation. I'll start with you, Ava. Why do you think that is?
She grimaced, by the way, when you read that stat. She made a face.
Honestly, I would say at the end of the day, it chops down to the amount of resources and access to education regarding voting and voting information that is accessible to the youth. Past the Constitution test in 7th or 8th grade, you don't actually have any proper education regarding politics or the government, with the exception of if your school has the opportunity to teach an AP government class like ours luckily does. And so I think at the end of the day, it doesn't chop down to interest or honestly, caring about the matters at hand. It just comes down to the amount of information accessible to the youth, and honestly, it's kind of abysmal, which is super disappointing.
Francisco, I want to follow up with you because you turned 18 between the runoff and the general election, and it's a huge deal for you, but for your family too, right?
Yeah, I'm actually the first in my family to vote, and I have a lot of pride in that. I also, if you allow me, I want to elaborate on something Ava said.
Please do.
I think we have an interesting paradox here. Not only are we undereducated when it comes to politics, but I feel that because of the internet, because of social media, we're also very aware of all the shady things that goes on every single level of government. And that leads to this pessimism and lack of voter efficacy. So that's an interesting paradox.
Yeah, a little cynicism going on there. Well, it's clear that y'all are not cynics, so let's dive into some issues here and talk about what matters to you in the next mayor. So first of all, I just want to get a sense from you all. Crime has been a big talker between all the candidates, but is crime the #1 issue for you guys? Raise your hand if crime is the #1 issue for you for your mayoral election pick. Okay.
3 or 4.
About 3 or 4,
yeah.
Okay. Not enthusiastically, but 3 or 4. Francisco, you want to chime in why you say so?
Personally, I feel like crime goes hand in hand with education. It goes hand in hand with transportation. It goes hand in hand with all a lot of other issues. So I think it's very intertwined.
Yeah.
That's what I think.
You mentioned transportation
Yeah.
issues there. That is huge. Raise your hand if you've been ghost bust, or yeah, exactly.
Everybody, right?
Corey, you went
Me
up.
too.
Yeah, right. You went up right away. What do you feel about transportation issues in our city right now?
Yeah, I think it's really very disheartening, especially since I take public transportation every day to get to school, to get back home from school, or if I'm just trying to hang out with my friends. So when you go in the Ventura app and you see, oh, the bus is supposed to come in this amount of time, and all of a sudden you find yourself waiting for an hour, wait, what's going on? And I have an experience with that numerous times, especially one time with my friend when we was coming back from the movies, and I felt really bad because it's one thing for me to have to deal with it, but now that I have somebody else that I really care about is also going through it with me, it's just very unfortunate, and it happened that night too, so it's not desirable at all.
Not desirable at all. Now, CTA, it's a big part of how you get to school, right? How you get around. And so let's talk about education a little bit. One thing that was mentioned by you, Corey, before is the relationship between teachers and City Hall. Would you like to see that improve with the next mayor?
Yeah, because I remember as a freshman, when the last mayoral election happened, there was a big strike for a good 2 weeks. At first, you may think oh, we get out of school for an unannounced amount of time, but when days and days and days start picking up, you start wondering, so you're going to actually go back and you don't ever know how the curriculum is going to be afterwards. So it just provides a whole lot of unnecessary stress and tension, especially there may be people that need to be at school during those times and they may be left out.
Yeah. One big part of education too, and that's some great points there, is mental health help in schools.
Absolutely.
Raise your hand if you feel like CPS provides enough mental health resources for students. And we see laughter.
Ava left.
Yeah, let's pass the mic down. Nayana, if we can pass it on down. I know I picked the longest pass on down here. But Nyana, this is a big issue for you, isn't it?
Yes, of course.
Why?
Because I just feel like mental health isn't taken seriously in schools. I feel like mental health is a big issue, not only for children, adolescents, but teachers as well. Post-pandemic, many kids have, it has caused disruption and social anxiety has increased. And there's been nobody there to help. There's been nobody there to take that serious. I feel as though the next mayor should take that into consideration and, implement better training and proper training for the teachers. Not only that, but create and establish a bond with the teachers to make sure that their mental health is up to par as well. Because, I feel like teachers with a better mental health, they will be able to, interact with the students with those, horrible, with bad mental health. I feel like teachers with good mental health, they could provide better with the children.
Have real conversations about
Yeah.
it, right? Be more equipped for that.
And not only that, I do feel as though we need more counselors and more nurses and social workers within schools, because there's many schools that really don't have the opportunity or, the chance to talk. And there's a lot of kids that probably feel victim to that.
Ava, you seem pretty, you're shaking your head aggressively when it came to the mental health discussion. Weigh in here for me.
It's extremely important, especially as Nyana had mentioned, coming out of a pandemic where all kids are seeing every day is a computer screen. Not only are kids having to build new interactions with themselves, but also reaccumulate to the school setting as a whole and that environment with teachers. And not having someone who they feel like they can trust coming out of it, especially when that's such a huge adjustment, is insane. And it's so detrimental to students.
For sure.
It's interesting to hear, John.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's not a perspective you hear often when these candidates are debating. Another issue that's not brought up a lot is immigration.
100%.
And Camilla, we were talking about this a little bit. This is an issue you're really passionate about too.
Yes, it truly is. I think that immigration often also correlates with education. I think there are a lot of immigrant students that don't get resources like dual language programs or ethnic studies classes that I think they would really benefit from, especially if we want to limit and end those systemic disparities within our educational system. I think additionally we need our parents to also be a part of those decision-making processes within schools. And I think because a lot of our non-citizen parents don't really have that voice, I think we really do need them to create, boards of education where they can be part of that decision process.
And just to put a fine point on it, obviously immigration is a national issue, but the mayor is involved with the decisions of sanctuary cities, right? There are real consequences of who the next mayor could be, and that must be something you're looking out for too.
For sure. I really think that we're having an influx of immigrants and influx of refugees, and I think we don't necessarily uphold our status as sanctuary cities, both socially and legally. So we do really need to implement policies that limit, cooperation with ICE. We need to implement policies that limit the effectiveness of people that are threatening immigrants with ICE. So, yeah.
Camille, you mentioned how this plays into disinvestment. That's been a big theme throughout this election. Francisco, I want to hear from you on this one. When it comes to disinvestment, you want to see a little bit more transparency, especially with how some of the dollars are being distributed, correct?
No, yes. TIF dollars, for example, no one really knows where they go, right? We need just more transparency, where this is coming from, what projects are being funded. This is just necessary to know. Yeah.
It's amazing, by the way, not many adults know what tax increment funding is.
Yeah.
You're 18 now, you're an adult, but that's impressive stuff that you know that. But yeah, a lot of the stuff, we go into these issues, right? We talk about crime, we talk about education, and we just don't get deep into it. But I think that's important. It's to dive into these very local issues, even on a mayoral side, right?
Yeah, it is. And I can tell you that I'm not the only young person. Everyone here, every young person here knows what is going on in city government. We may not vote, but we certainly do know what's going on.
Right.
Yeah,
Well put.
it is very well put. You want more transparency. You want to see where those dollars goes, because it is kind of a tale of two cities here in Chicago. Just curious for all of you, raise your hand for me if you feel like Chicago has a segregation issue, it's a divided city. Overwhelmingly. Corey, weigh in for me here. Where do you see that most play out?
Mainly in minority communities, you can go on the west side or the south side and you can see by the environment, the neighborhoods isn't really well treated. Well, if you go on the north side, it's better. And also just growing up, just being at a public school that was majority African Americans and stuff like that, and dealing with everything that
Yeah.
you see on a daily basis. You know, Chicago is very segregated. Like I want to go. I wish my community was like the North Side. I wish we had good green grass. You know, not trash everywhere, but they don't really maintenance that.
Yeah, clean up, being clean. Ava, you want to weigh in on this?
Yeah.
So this is also, I'd like to add to build off of Corey, not a new issue at all. We've seen issues with segregation in the city since the 1930s when we started redlining,
Yeah.
according to National Housing Acts. Like, this is not a new issue at all, but it just is incredibly prevalent when you, like, say you're a block from our school, you're driving down home and you can't walk or drive down the street because it hasn't been repaved or cared for in years. You can't, like, walk without seeing 2 pieces of trash on the floor because there's no garbage cans. Street lights don't work at night. It's insane to see how the city chooses to, over time, invest in communities that are perfectly capable of surviving and thriving, while we have other communities that, while they are so resilient, are lacking in the basic needs that the city is supposed to provide for them.
I got a couple random questions here. I want to
All
get
right.
I want to get everyone here.
Yeah.
Raise your hand if you know you want to live in Chicago, as you continue on being an adult. If you know you want to stay here. Nayana, I want to pass it down. You didn't raise your hand. Is it because you don't know, you're not sure, or you know you want to leave?
No, I know I want to leave.
Really?
Yeah, but it's just simply because I don't feel as if I can thrive in Chicago. I feel as if my purpose is elsewhere. That's just what I
real.
personally feel, yeah.
Camilla, what do you think?
I think that because, I hopefully want to be an immigration lawyer. I think that because there are so many discrepancies in immigration here in Chicago, and a lot of the laws are not being put in place, a lot of the policies that are presented are not going through, I think while I can hopefully make that change here, I think that other places might be a better place to actually implement those laws, and hopefully politicians elsewhere also want to make that impact.
Well, I hope both candidates are
Jeez, I know.
watching and listening to this. Just curious, we have a runoff here. Did either of your preferred candidates make the runoff election? Raise your hand if so. Okay. Now here's the real question. Let's say the candidate you prefer does not make the runoff, does not win mayor. Are you confident that they are still going to be able to hold Chicago's future in good hands? Raise your hand if you believe that no matter who wins, we're in good hands. Wow.
Okay.
Why is that? Why do you think, if the loser becomes the mayor that you don't want to win, that the city's in bad hands? Anybody want to weigh in there?
Anyone volunteer?
Go ahead, Ava.
We're all good with me going? Okay. Without naming names, I do feel especially more confident in one candidate, specific ability to cooperate with new positions formed and elected into this year, specifically with regards to the ECPS and Police District Council positions this year. It's an incredibly important position, and it's already been watered down so much by our current incumbent mayor, and I just hope to see that there is a good relationship and a continued work progress with those newly elected people. And I don't know, it's kind of like you had mentioned earlier, the candidates are so polar opposite that you're either going to be ecstatic that your candidate has won or extremely disappointed. And I know myself that if my ideal candidate is not elected, then we're going to have a lot of work to do in terms of accountability.
Accountability is the word. You got to hold all elected officials accountable no matter what. Well, want to thank the students at Westinghouse College Prep for joining us. Thank you so much. I mean, when I was a student, I wasn't this informed on issues.
Absolutely not. Our future is safe with those of you that choose to stay in Chicago. Hope we all can, for sure.
And to learn more about Westinghouse College Prep, check them out online and on social media.